Look around for a second. Your friend just got another tattoo. Someone at work rolls up their sleeve and shows off fresh ink. Your social feed is full of tiny symbols, meaningful quotes, full sleeves, matching designs, and stories about what each tattoo represents. And then there's you, still completely At some point, something strange happens. In a world where tattoos have become normal, not getting one starts to look unusual. And that raises a question almost nobody asks. What is the psychology of people who never get tattoos? Because people love analyzing why someone chooses ink. They talk about self-expression, pain tolerance, identity, rebellion, healing, freedom, but very few stop to think about the opposite decision. Why do some people go their entire lives without marking their skin at all? And the answer is not as simple as they're scared, or they just don't like tattoos. For many people, the choice has less to do with fear, and more to do with how they relate to time, identity, social perception, and meaning itself. Let's start with time. Some people do not avoid tattoos because they dislike art or self-expression. They avoid them because permanent decisions feel different to them than they do to other people. When they imagine themselves 10, 20, or 30 years from now, they do not picture a fixed version of who they are. They picture change, and that changes everything. To them, a tattoo is not just a design. It is a message sent forward to a future self they have not met yet, and that future self matters. Some minds are highly sensitive to long-term consequences. They naturally think ahead. They mentally rehearse regret before regret ever happens. They do not just ask, "Do I like this now?" They ask, "Will this still feel true when I become someone else?" That is not indecision. That is future-oriented thinking. And people like this often understand something others ignore. A permanent choice is not only about the present version of you. It is also a commitment made on behalf of every future version that has to live with it. For someone with that mindset, not getting a tattoo can feel less like missing out and more like protecting flexibility. But time is only one part of it. There is another layer, and it is even more personal. Some people move through life with a very fluid sense of identity. They do not see themselves as finished. They do not think of personality as something you discover once and then keep forever. They see themselves as constantly evolving, always becoming, always adjusting, always changing shape internally. And for that kind of person, a tattoo can feel strangely final. Not because the image is bad, not because they hate the idea, but because it can feel like freezing one version of themselves in place. A symbol that means everything today may feel distant in 5 years. A phrase that feels deeply true right now may later feel like it belongs to another chapter of life. So they wait. Not always because they are uncertain, but because they do not want to lock in an identity that still feels in motion. Now, sometimes that reflects maturity, a healthy openness, a recognition that human beings are not static, but sometimes it reflects something else. Because there is a thin line between staying open to growth and being afraid to define yourself at all. And that is where this topic becomes more interesting. For some people, "I just never got one," is a calm, thoughtful choice. For others, it may be a subtle way of avoiding commitment. Not just commitment to a tattoo, but commitment to a version of themselves. Then there is the social side. Even though tattoos are far more accepted now than they used to be, they still communicate something. They still shape first impressions. They still influence the way people read you, even if only unconsciously. And some people are extremely aware of that. They think carefully about how they move through the world, how they are perceived, how much control they have over the image they project. For them, a tattoo can feel like giving up a certain kind of flexibility. Because once something is on your skin, it enters every room before you explain it. It becomes part of the story people tell themselves about you. Some people are comfortable with that, others are not. And it is not always because they are insecure. Sometimes it is because they value neutrality. They want their appearance to remain open-ended, adaptable, easy to place in different environments, different stages of life, different roles. In that sense, remaining untattooed can be a form of control. Not controlling in a negative way. Strategic. A decision to keep the surface of the self as flexible as possible. But there is one more reason, and this one is quieter. For some people, not getting a tattoo is almost philosophical. They are not against meaning. They are against needing to externalize it. They do not feel the need to place symbols on their body to prove what matters to them. They do not need a visible reminder of who they are, what they survived, what they love, or what they believe. For them, meaning feels more private than that, more internal. They may love deeply, remember vividly, believe strongly, and feel things intensely. They just do not need those truths written on their skin. And in a culture that often treats tattoos as proof of depth, that perspective can be misunderstood, because we have created a quiet assumption that visible expression equals authenticity. If it is on your body, it must be real. If it is permanent, it must be meaningful. If you choose not to do it, people may assume you are less expressive, less brave, less interesting. But that is not necessarily true. Silence is not emptiness. Restraint is not a lack of identity. And clean skin does not mean a blank inner life. Sometimes it means the opposite. Sometimes it means a person feels no urgency to display who they are, because they already know. And maybe that is the real point. The psychology of people who never get tattoos is not boring at all. It can reveal a lot about how someone thinks, how they imagine the future, how they experience identity, how they manage social perception, how they define meaning, how they balance self-expression with self-preservation. And that is what makes this so interesting. Because sometimes the most revealing thing about a person is not the choice they make. It is the choice they consistently refuse to make. So whether someone is covered in ink or has never touched a tattoo needle, the deeper question is the same. Was it chosen consciously? Not out of pressure, not out of fear, not out of imitation, not out of the need to belong, but from a place that is honest. Because a tattoo can be authentic, and so can the absence of one. If this made you think, tell me in the comments. Have you never gotten a tattoo because you truly do not want one? Or because part of you still is not sure who you'll become? If you like hidden psychology, subscribe. The next one might explain you.